don't know what exactly you want to do in your life. So first person in my life is my dad, who encouraged me, you can do this. So he said, you have to become a doctor because we don't have doctors in the family. So that's the inspiration I got from him. And it's not easy to get into medical field in India. That's the most toughest challenge anyone can have, if any one of you have gone through that competitive exams and all. So really difficult and challenge to get out of it. So I got this medical seat when I was 16. So that was the toughest and most difficult struggle. But success comes. So hard work is the one which we all have to put in sincere effort. And that day I can never forget, like, how did I get this? How did I get into this medical field? You know, it's people are there behind to encourage you. I think we need to take those words of inspiration from your parents. Have to listen to the parents. They know the instinct. They know what we are capable of doing. I think I take that message. I worked hard and I got into this field. And success always follows you if you believe in yourself. And that's where I am here today. Like, never think a Warangal girl can come here to United States. And now I'm a women leader in American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, which is a national association for Indian physicians here, which has 100,000 physicians in the United States. This is a very proud moment to me and the women in this room. I think believe in yourself, and this is the hidden trait we all have. We don't know our inside power we have. So just not mom, just not wife, just not daughter, just not sister. This is the hidden trait we all have, is a leader inside you. Recognize that, be bold, and just succeed what you want to do in your life. Thanks.
A warm welcome to everybody here. And I'm so honored to be with this great panel of women here on stage, in this forum where we're sharing our views, and hope that people in the audience, not just women, even the men, take away something significant from it. For me, I think the most important decision, I don't know if it was a crucial or difficult decision, but this decision was to join the movie business, the entertainment industry itself. I was a very young, impressionable, immature 16-year-old girl. I, to my great surprise, won a beauty contest and was crowned Miss India 1981. And the film offers just poured in with all that publicity. I wanted to try acting in at least one movie just to understand what filmmaking is all about. And the movie offer came to me on its own. I didn't have to knock on any doors or ask for a break. So I tried to convince my parents, who were a little wary about such a decision. They told me few things, which is important not just for women, but for everyone here. The first thing they said is, don't stop your education. Continue studying. So as a result of that, I was doing my bachelor's as I was acting in movies at the same time. I would be going to examination halls to write my papers, and everybody would be staring at me because they recognized me. And I think that was the best decision I took, of continuing studying, because it gave me such a good platform for my self-expression. The movie career spanned 80-odd movies over 15 years. And then came actually the most crucial decision of my life, which was to marry a person who lived outside India and to join him by migrating. A lot of men and women from India do that. It was not something new. But for me, it was a personal experience that shook my very identity. I identified myself so much with the film persona, the woman who faced fans, audiences, was part of a bubble. The movie industry is like a bubble. it follows different rules from what the common man follows. To come here and become just like anybody else, like any woman on the street, was a challenge. There was a steep learning curve. I did not drive, I did not cook, and believe me, I was terrible at navigation, so I always got lost when I was driving. But these are the small little challenges which took me to being an American in this melting pot where so many immigrants come from all parts of the world and find their presence here. I have to share something here with you, which is about people coming here, the migrants. They came with this great vision of an American dream, that they would find roads here paved with gold. But when they came here, you know what happened? They found out that the roads were not paved with gold. They also found out that the roads were not paved at all. And finally, they found out that they had to do all the paving. This is what I feel. I feel woman is a paver. She lays down foundations, a deep platform on which stand so many things: relationships, love, compassion, forgiveness. Coming here to America taught me that I could be part of that paving group. And this is my message to you all as well, that when you believe in something, do it. And I believe what she said about hard work. Work is one thing nobody can take away from you. You can lose your riches, you can lose your success, you can lose your money, finances, everything. But your work is yours and yours only alone, and nobody can take it away from you. Thank you.
Wow, that's really so true for all of us. So after this one, let's get a little personal now with each profession that what you have, and I have different questions. Let's start with Chef Brown. This question is for you. First of all, I would like to thank for choosing what you're wearing, this uniform. It's really honorable, and we are very inspired. And I have heard so many of your speeches. I follow you, and I also hear when you speak with public. And one thing that really makes me amazing is you always say you strongly believe in communication and say that is the key. So what do you mean by that, and why and how?
I think that it is important for us to communicate. First of all, if you are a leader, you have to, it's essential, you have to be able to communicate with people. And I think it's important for us to communicate with one another. As we are here on the stage today, we come from various walks, then it is important for us to communicate with one another so that we understand one another. And when you communicate with one another, then all those theories that you have in your head, that you have in your mind, all of those things that are not necessarily correct theories that you have in your mind, those things are laid aside. It's important for us to communicate with one another, because when we do, then we better understand one another. And it's important for us to place ourselves in someone else's place so that we can better understand them. So as you know, if you followed me, then you know that my studying was in communications, because I think that it is important for us to be able to, first and foremost, communicate with one another. I think that that is the foundation of whatever it is that you decide to do in life. You have to have a forum of good communication.
So you have also worked with several broadcasting, the affiliation as well. And so you have to be always strong and always smart and communicating. So is there any time that you feel down, and then how do you cope with that one?
There are times when, I think we all have those moments in life. And those are the times that you have to reach down within yourself and pull yourself up with everything that you have within your being, and talk about what it is. Tell yourself, I tell people, and I tell my employees all the time, you have to talk to yourself. And we make a joke about it, but the seriousness of it is that if you continue to tell yourself that you are not any good, that you are bad, then that's what yourself is eventually going to believe. But if you tell yourself that I am, I can, I will, then that's what yourself will believe. So that's what I think is important for us to visit with ourselves, talk with ourselves, and encourage ourselves as well as other people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think it's Neil's turn. Neil, you said empowerment means exercising your right to choose how we want to be governed and exercising your right to choose who we want to represent us, and also means educating ourselves on our options and recognizing that the power resides with us. Enlighten us a little bit, because most of the time, all of us, like most of the time, we do not have that excuse, or we always have that excuse not to explore that part. So how deeply that will impact us, and especially us women.
Yeah, so I want to put that into context.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that quote is actually, for any of you who follow me on Facebook, you know I'm pretty active when it comes to political engagement. It's something that I'm passionate about. I studied political science, I think you did too. And it's just something that I've been engaged with. When I graduated from college, I worked for Governor Perry for a year, and I've stayed sort of engaged with politics throughout the last decade or so. But one thing I feel very strongly, and this feeling of we have to empower ourselves, I think Sandhya Gava touched on that a little bit when she gave her opening remarks. It comes from a spiritual place. You know, and I come from the Chinmay mission tradition, and it's something that is a very integral part of who I am and what I believe, and that is that each of us in ourselves are nothing other than Brahman. And if we are nothing other than Brahman, then we have all of the creative power to create and manifest the type of world we want to live in and see. And that requires us to be very intentional and very aware in every moment of our lives. And so what that means is, you know, in the political context, bringing it back to the political context for a second, it means that we have to be, first of all, aware of what we want and what is happening around us. If we're not comfortable with the world we live in, then we have to recognize that, number one, what is it that we're not comfortable with? What is it that we want to actually see change? Be able to communicate that and speak to ourselves about what it is we care about and why. And when you know your why, and you know it very strongly, and you're convinced of that why, then you can start to take steps to create the world that you actually think needs to exist. So the environment is also something I'm very passionate about as well, and a lot of it stems from my travels. And so how do we look at the world? So if I see glaciers eroding in Alaska, what do I do about that? So stopping plastic consumption, of course, is one of those things. So we came back from our trip and we bought these reusable grocery bags that you can buy your produce in, so you don't have to keep using those plastic bags that they give you at the grocery store. It's, you know, also recycling. I've been sort of an avid recycler ever since I was in the 4th grade, and I learned about what recycling was. But, you know, we can step it up. Now, when it comes to politics and policy, I have to make sure that I'm voting for those elected officials to represent me, who also represent my values. And they're not just talking the talk, but they're walking the walk. And so what policies are they putting forth? How are they seeking to affect the change that I want to see in the world? So this requires me, number one, to engage with the process. So, you know, we're in an election cycle, so, you know, I would say if you're not a registered voter, register to vote. That's the first thing. Number two is know who the candidates are in the field. You know, it's not enough to just go and cast your vote and know a couple of names and go and vote for those 2 or 3 people that you know, because every level of government impacts your life, and every level of government has a responsibility to not only use the resources that you are giving in the form of taxes, but they're using that to create the world that you live in. the regulatory world that you live in. So make sure that you're informed about all of the people who are running for a particular political office, and then make sure you're voting for those that align with your values. And it doesn't matter which party or who specifically aligns with your values, but educate yourself, be aware enough to know who it is, and then actually go and vote. And then if you're like me and you're kind of already going through that process, seek to educate others who may or may not know how they can also start to empower themselves and create the world that they want to see. So, you know, voter engagement, voter empowerment, I think is one thing that we each can do today or any day. You can go to register to vote if you're a US citizen, or whatever country you belong to, whatever country you're a national of, you can vote in that country's elections. But understand that taking that moment to cast that vote is you using your empowered self to affect change for the future of the world. And all of us doing that collectively is how we move ourselves forward as a community and as a country. So, you know, that's one example of that. But I think that idea that I can affect the change that I want to see in the world, can be applied to every aspect of your life. And I love, you know, Mahatma Gandhi's quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world." I live by that. So I think all of us, if we hone that philosophy, make it our own, and then start to live by that, we can completely change the world for better. And it starts with every single one of us in every moment of our life.
Wow, that's really nice. So I hope you all have already voted, right? Yes, okay, thank you. So the next question is for you, Nandini. As a female director, so I know how many of you would like to act in a movie? See, all right, I think only one hand? Oh, okay, I think we have a whole bunch in the back. Okay, so what is the biggest challenge that you have faced and as a woman, and what's your secret formula of success?
You mean professionally?
Professional, yes.
It's something I touched upon. Before my first film, women were seen as makers of offbeat cinema. They didn't think that you had commercial sensibility, that you could make a box office film, that the men would get your jokes, and it's a film enough that you would get the grammar of a commercial film. So that was a really big challenge, and Meenakshi ji would know that at any given point of time there are 150 people minimum on set, and they're all men. There would hardly be any women. So to consider a woman director at the helm of all this was a little difficult for them to fathom. Earlier women directors had been heroines, so they already had a certain status. And Farah Khan had made a debut a little before me, and Farah Khan delivering that big film, Om Shanti Om, was a big thing, because she was actually one of the first directors who delivered an absolute commercial hit in all senses. So every time I would go and narrate a script, they would really like the story, but there'd be a little of a question mark that can she actually pull it off, and can she actually have the film delivered as she's narrating. So I would kind of sense that hesitation on them. It's right now I still face it, even after 4 films and having delivered 3 hits out of 4. I still face the question, if I have to approach a bigger hero, that would there be enough action stuff, and would there be enough hero stuff for the film? Or people come and ask me, so are you making another woman-centric film? Why? I mean, that's all you think I'm capable of? Or you think I should only do women-based stories? So these are the things that they stereotype you. But then I don't make it my suitcase to carry, it's theirs. I do what I want to do, and that's how I've always done. So the day I feel like doing an action film, I will. I don't need to do it to prove anything to anybody. I will tell a story that I feel like telling at whatever given point of time, and that's how I handle it.
I think that answer definitely deserves a big round of applause. That's so true with all of us. Yes, believing in ourselves.